Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of our podcast, Living with Technology, presented to you by the EC3 Media Arts Program and the interns of the IT department. I am your host for today, Sean, and I'm joined by a guest host.
Corbyn Stafford, hello.
And today we're just going to have a little talk, and we're going to talk about AI. What do you think, Corbyn?
AI is pretty interesting. It's a very broad topic, but it's cool that we have it. You know, I'm for it, and I'm for making it better in the future.
I agree with you on that, really. I will say, though, I do think that there is a genuine fear because, I mean, just look at everything it can do. I mean, it has a lot that it can do for us, but I would say that it has a lot of downfalls. And, just to make it a little funny here, I would say, you ever see the movie iRobot?
No.
You never seen iRobot? Oh. Well, it's about this society who's really, really advanced, and they make all of these robots. Obviously, it's iRobot.
Yeah.
And the hub of the robots, who's really in control of it all, is the AI Vicky. Well, Vicky sees as if she's not worth much to the humans, so she turns all the robots against each other, against the humans, and just has a full-on war. And they don't discover it's her until the end of the movie, so they have to take her offline. So it kind of gives us a little bit of an idea of what could happen with it.
I believe that movies like that and Terminator are all science fiction fantasy. I don't think that's possible at all. I don't think that AI could ever take over the world unless we tell it to.
Really?
It'd be cool if we have robots just like humans, but they're stronger and they can process stuff much faster. So we'd have robots working in construction, carrying all the wood,
Mm-hmm.
We can actually build and hammer nails, or maybe even teach schools. But if we tell it to, hey, this is how society is good, then it'll teach itself. It'll learn from its mistakes and do better. If we tell it how to do bad stuff, then it'll start doing bad stuff.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, we could also look at it as who is the maker of the AI? I mean, obviously, we would be the makers of the AI.
Yes.
But it would also be kind of just like who was the first to make the AI? And what would they use it for? Would they use it for good or for evil kind of thing?
And that's true. And we don't know. Like, anyone could make an AI, okay? Google and Siri and Alexa, those are all AIs and they're good, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But anyone could make an AI and we wouldn't know. So someone could be out there making some amazing machine that we don't even know about right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he can do whatever he wants with that. So there's no telling on what their intentions are with AI.
That's true. But what if it was also maybe, because we know there's two different types of AI. There's more of like what I would call more of the servant AI. So it's, you give it a task and it's supposed to do it. It still learns and it learns how to do the task better.
Yeah.
But then there's the super AI. The super AI is the true artificial intelligence. It is human mind in a machine, meaning that it has full control. You tell it to learn. That's all you tell it to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it just goes for it. So really, I would say, where would we stop at in terms of AI? Do we want to get to the super AI?
I don't think that would be possible to make a human mind in a robot. The mind is so complicated, we can't fit every single thing in a robot. The robot would be massive, so there's no point in making it. So I don't think we would ever get there, but if we could, I don't think it'll be a good idea.
Well, why do you think that? I'd like to know genuinely.
If a robot could do what humans can, the robot would know it's a robot and we're only humans.
Mm-hmm.
It would know that it's smarter and it can do things better. Imagine a human is born and he has superpowers. There are still chances that that person could do bad things, just like this robot, okay? The robot knows it's better and it can do anything it wants. So it might end up doing more bad things because we won't be able to control it.
Okay, I can see where you're going with that. I can agree with you on that. However, I would almost say, I know I've been kind of playing the side of it being bad, but I could also see its goodness.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I feel like it would be cool to live in one of those societies like iRobot or Terminator, just having that AI, I do think it is pretty scary because we know what happens in those movies where it's not very good. But I would also say it would be beneficial. But I would say, there might be ways to prevent it. Make the super AI, but limit it in some way.
If there was a super AI and and all you do is tell it to learn, wouldn't it figure out ways to make itself stronger?
Well, yes, but I feel like that's the goal of super AI almost. You want it to learn.
Aren't you not scared of it going on a rampage? Like, it just...
But I think that's when you kind of put the stoppers in for it.
Oh, okay. But don't you think it'll find it out? Prevent it from being hacked, making its own software stronger?
Yeah, I would say that. Because, you could have the best programmers and everything, best coders, but I truly think that it would still find a way to go against you.
Yeah.
I was talking with one of our other interns, Elijah, who's usually our co-host, or who's usually my co-host with me. He'll be back later. But him and I were having this conversation a bit. And we both agreed that if we had the super AI, it would be good, but also bad in a sense. And we were kind of going back and forth on it. And I kind of came up with the idea of what if you limited it to where it was on a network, but not really?
What do you mean?
So we as technology nerds, us as IT and programming people, like people who are getting that certification and going into the professions, we know that the internet is not this magical thing. We know what Wi-Fi is. Wi-Fi is the radio waves. Mm-hmm. We know that an Ethernet cord is just electricity being sent in flashes through copper, or even a light through fiber.
Yeah.
And for some of you who are listening or watching on YouTube, you might not know what we're talking about, but just hang in with us for a little bit. But, we know that. So we also know that the internet itself is a physical being full of servers and hard drives and just hundreds of terabytes, and I think it's called petabytes. I'm not fully sure on that. I'll look it up while I'm saying this, but I would say, we know this. That is what the internet is. So what if we almost went back and made a completely separate network? We build a secondary internet that we put the super AI on. So we download the entirety of I know this is a lot of work. It is. Because it's literally making an entire copy of the internet. But if we put it in and we make an entirely new internet, would it be secure?
Really, that would have to be really, really secretive.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd take years to copy.
Yes.
so people would try to get in it. And if someone found out and exposed that, then that wouldn't go right. If you're talking about copying every single picture and every single video, every single text, yeah,
Yes, like everything. I was right, by the way. It was a petabyte.
that would take absolute years.
Yeah, I would say it would.
But making a robot on a separate, making all the robots on a separate internet, a super robot, I feel like it'd find a way to get around that. That's why I'm not really for super robots, because if we do make a robot that can do anything a human can, then I feel like it'd be bad. Because we can't prevent it. Like, what are we gonna do? Put it in jail? You know, we can't do anything, and the robot knows that.
That is true. But I feel like this is also more of a hypothetical, is what I was going at. Because, like you said, you can't just throw a robot in jail.
Yeah.
If you could, that'd be amazing. But if you literally build a super robot to be able to bend metal or break through concrete with its bare fists, you're not going to be able to put it in concrete and bars. You're not going to be able to do it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But, if you look at the separate network, it might not have to be every single petabyte or zettabyte or zettabyte or whatever it is that exists on the internet. But I think at the very least, get the bulk of it. Get the bulk, because we also know that it's, and of course a lot of listeners also know as well, because all the theories of the dark web and everything, we know it's an iceberg. What if we took the tip of the iceberg, the light part of the internet, where everyone, like Google, everything like that. What if we built an AI to make the network? So we give the direction of the AI saying, look, take all of this, download it onto this file. Then after that file is full, or after that hard drive is full, we, of course, as humans, would be the ones who take it and put it into the new network. We are the ones physically putting it in. The information is not given directly to it, but rather we are the mediator. It's not hooked up into the machines.
So you want to give an AI, hypothetically, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Give an AI a command to put all the good stuff in a separate internet and keep all the bad stuff on this internet? Or
well, not like put it on there, but like copy it.
Copy it, so
like, of course, I wouldn't want the super AI having access to a lot of information that we really don't need and that I don't feel comfortable talking about on this podcast. Like such as like people's addresses and stuff like that that's literally sold and bought. I don't want that. Mm-hmm. But, like a super AI needs stuff to learn off of. So if you say for it to learn, well, it needs information. So let's say one of my commands to my super AI would be give or learn what a dog is.
Yes.
And so it will look through all of its files and it will somehow, through the coding of it all, will learn this is what a dog is. It's fluffy, it has ears, it has a tail, it wags it when it's happy, it likes sleeping, it likes food, all this stuff. And it just knows what a dog is. Mm. And of course, you give that file, you allow it to know those files. It's the same thing it's kind of like giving it flashcards. Like if I'm going up to a child and I'm saying, and like they're in kindergarten, I'm helping out teaching, I show them a flashcard, and it's a dog. Mm-hmm. And they haven't seen a dog before, and I say, this is a dog. Find others like it in this pile. Oh, well, this one looks like it, this one looks like it. And then let's say it throws a cat in there. Well, of course the AI would be like, well, it's fluffy, it has a tail, it has ears, it walks on 4 legs, it eats, that kind of thing. I know every living being eats, but still. It would be like, well, this is it too. You say, no, that's not it. This is a cat. You can't just tell it it's a cat because of how it doesn't know what a cat is yet.
Yeah.
So instead you just say, no, that's not it. Then you continue on with the whole thing. That's essentially what I'm doing. I'm taking the information and putting it in one big pile, and I let it learn. But it's only on its private internet. It is a completely different internet that's not even connected remotely close to the actual internet.
I yeah. I if you tell an AI
Mm-hmm.
to play chess and learn the mistakes if it loses, okay, then it'll get better at chess, okay. But if you tell this super AI to know what a dog is, okay, and then so many, there's infinite things that it'll have to learn. How are we gonna put all that information on?
That is a good point. I didn't think that much.
Learn what a table is, and a chair, and the floor, and a cloud, and
It's almost as if you would need to have an AI teacher.
yeah, but how are we gonna teach
Well,
that the good thing?
I think, well, you know what? Now you pretty much debunked my theory, so now I gotta come back at that. I would say we would have to make a separate AI on the same network, which of course now puts a second device on it, which means it's not separated. So now you got me on that. But you would almost have to make a second AI that would it's not super, but it's a programmed one. It's pre-programmed, and you already told it this is what a dog is, and then its only function is to tell the super. We're just going to use the dog or chess. We're using dog and chess from now on because it's so many examples we could use. We could make that lower AI, the servant AI, say this is a dog to the super AI, and have it say, go find other dogs. It knows, but it doesn't truly know because it didn't learn. We just told it we just told it to say to the AI, this is a dog, go find other dogs.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying now. You would have to have a second one to teach it, or else you'd have to have a human go up to the AI and constantly say, look, this is a dog, find other dogs. This is a cat, find another cat.
So, but you're trying to block out all the bad stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would the servant AI, how would that get all the good information and only the good information?
Because it would be connected to the internet that would already be. Are you talking about the servant AI that's making the second internet, that's copying, or the one that's teaching?
The one that's teaching.
So the one that's teaching, we already have it on that network. It's programmed on the network already to do that.
Okay.
But I do see what you're saying. If you were talking about the servant AI that's making the network,
Yeah.
you have to tell it, which I think, because we know, like, you have to use a different browser completely just to even get on the deeper parts of the web. I'm going to say deep web because I don't want to go into it even more. Okay, as far as we're going to just say deep web from now on. We don't need to say what all is on there. Mm-hmm. But I would say you would have to do that almost. You'd have to say, go to Google and grab all these images that look like this. And, like, go to Google and grab all the images that look like this image, which is a dog. And pull all of it and put it on this. You'd have to do that.
Yeah.
So, I see what you mean now on that. But I think it, at the very least, because this is more science fiction. All of this is science fiction, really. I say that, and then one day in my life, there might be an article that I read that says super AI takes over the world on the other half of the world. For all I know, I'm not sure. But as far as we know, right now it's science fiction. It would be nice to have an AI because you could do other things. But I think in general, it would take a lot of work, but I think that's a good way to limit it. What would you do?
I would not make a super AI. There's so many things that it could work its way around. So, when it comes to AIs and robots, the most I would do is give a specific robot a specific task. Like teach it about construction, and it only does that. It will know nothing about teaching kids. It will know nothing about like how to paint. It will only know construction, and that's its only command. And it'll learn from that mistakes. Like a chess AI will not know how to play checkers. It will only know how to play chess, and it will learn from only the mistakes it makes in chess.
So you would make an AI with two programs. The programs are do construction, and then the other program would be learn from your mistake on construction. If your building collapses, learn why it collapsed and fix it.
Yes, and many AIs already do that automatically. That's what machine learning is. It's learning from its own mistakes, and that's as far as I would go. Like, we would need to make separate robots for separate tasks. A robot shouldn't know how to do construction and then like paint and cut down trees and all that stuff. I feel like too many things would go wrong, and it would know too much.
I would almost say too, because I know we're getting to at least a little bit of a limit here. We still have a lot of time, but I think we're doing decent. I would say, what would we need the super AI for? Like, obviously, we don't need it. We are already super AIs when you look at it. We are learning, breathing, living, everything like that. But what would be a reason to do it? Would a super AI be what needs to control the lower AI when we can't? Or would that be too much power?
That would definitely be too much power, because if we can't control our own AIs that we make, then we don't need to make it. And if we just all billions of people on Earth were like, hey, we should just make a super robot. Okay, let's just say it just happens. I would want it to just sit there and look pretty. Because say there's multiple. Okay, say every country in the world has their own super AI.
USAAI. UKAI.
I feel like that would be the equivalent of nuclear bombs.
You know what? I didn't think of that, but I think you're right. Because if we're already at the point of nuclear destruction, really, and this isn't an opinion. No, this is like everybody knows that this is quite possible. It's just a whole thing of one person says the wrong thing, it happens. But I think you're right on that, because at any moment the AI itself, if we gave it the command or of its own free will decided to everybody, then it would just be the other AIs.
Yeah.
And it's just the same thing with nukes. So you're saying it's essentially just another way to doom ourselves if we make a super.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to agree with you on that.
I don't like, in general, the AI. I don't like the idea of going past what we need. There's no need to make a super AI.
So we just keep the AI at servant level.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now, with the AIs we have, we can definitely go hundreds of years further. But if we get to super AI point, we just stop. There's no need to do it more.
I would say that there's not much we could do over it. I mean, you might be able to do it kind of like what we did with, not what we did, but what Marvel did in general, with the Marvel comics and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You could say the whole thing of doing it with Ultron, but of course we all know Ultron was the villain, and that's because he had one purpose, which was to bring peace.
Yeah.
Well, if that's his only command, if his commands were learn and bring peace, well then he could learn the wrong way to bring peace, which is what he did,
Yeah.
which was to unalive everyone. It was organic, really, because he saw that was what was bringing the suffering. So you couldn't do that, really.
Yeah.
So I can see what you're saying on that. But I would also say, of course, this is going back into the science fiction. This whole episode really is about it. You'd also look at it and say, Vision. Vision was born from Jarvis, and Jarvis was an AI,
Mm-hmm.
and he was really, well, he was more. I would say he is more of a servant AI. He is, because he was built to serve Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Really hoping I'm not getting any strikes for any of saying any of this, but I think just saying it and not having any graphic images should be fine. But that's what it is. He was built just to serve him. So I wouldn't necessarily think he would get to that point, but of course he did with Vision. But then it's also the fact of what stops Vision from being that.
What?
What stops Vision from being Ultron? Vision has all the power to be Ultron, but he's not.
Okay, and morals, which I don't think would be possible in robots.
So you don't think we could teach a moral compass?
Emotions like right versus wrong and happy and sad would not be possible. We can teach it what's right and we can teach it what's wrong, but just because it knows that doesn't mean it'll act on it. And this is if we teach it to a super robot.
True. Because I could teach, we teach kids don't steal.
Yeah.
But of course in kindergarten, you have those little punk kids who would, like steal like not like steal, but like kind of like take a couple things from the classroom or stuff like that. It's just a natural human thing. But would the robot do it, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or would it have to be corrupt? Would it have to know that there is, and then we allow it to make that choice?
If we teach a robot right and wrong, it'll know it, but it won't really act on anything. Like Google can't do anything. It can't. Like, it can't steal stuff. Even if it had a physical body, that's where we don't need to go any further than that. Vision, he has his own morals and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think that'd be possible to do in like real robots.
So you would say, just to kind of sum it all up, you would say that we couldn't get to that point?
Never.
We couldn't get to the point of giving a robot a moral compass with free will. We could probably give the robot a moral compass, but we couldn't give it the free will aspect.
Yeah.
What do you think on that?
If you tell a robot, you said, I just lost all my money and I'm homeless. You could teach the robot to act sad, but it really won't know what sadness is. Like, you could tell it anything and it'll act on a certain emotion, but the robot won't know truly what it is. You can't give a robot its own conscious.
You couldn't give it a conscience, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just that hollowed out machine.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I'd have to probably agree with you on that a bit.
You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we know as humans, and of course this is proven in everything. Emotions are real things. Everyone has emotions. I wouldn't say like everyone. To some degree, there's something, and we know that the reason why that is because of chemicals like serotonin and dopamine and adrenaline. There's at least one more I can't really think of right now, but you know, we those chemicals reacting with the cells in our body and especially our brain cells trigger a certain balance or even an imbalance in our brain that makes us feel some way. That's the best way I can explain it. Like I said earlier, we're technology people. We're not we're not people from the what's the program? I don't know why I'm forgetting it right now. The health science program. We're not those people, so we can't really explain this much. This is what we go off of. But we can explain energy passing through a cord.
Yeah.
But I would say I agree with you on that because we have that imbalance. But how would you do that with a robot? If you're just sending electricity, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You could program a feeling into it, but it's not really. It's basically an execute file of if this is said, then react in this way.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you have anything else you might want to add to this?
So we're talking about putting a human brain in a robot to make a super AI, right? That's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we put an AI in a human?
Oh, an AI in a human.
I think that would be possible, and I think by making these cyborgs,
Mm-hmm.
we would be able to think much faster and live much longer.
So almost like merging. So I would say that'd be pretty cool, but to what extent does the robot become human or the human become robot? Is it when the mind is fully electronic that the mind or that the robot is human, or is that when the human is robot?
Only when we have to limit how much we make a cyborg a robot. So we can't put a machine and replace it with a brain. Like a human's born, they still have their brain.
Mm-hmm.
So it has its own thoughts. But if we could increase the chemicals that you were talking about earlier, if we can increase that.
Oh, like a device in it.
Yeah, and maybe we could attach something to our eyes, and then we could see further, record things, and have stuff with our ears to make us hear better, or even our muscles, so we'll be stronger.
Now, I would say on some of that, I almost wouldn't want to do it because I feel like it would make us too uniform. If you have a hearing disability, you almost don't want to get that. A lot of people don't actually really want those implants because we already have those implants, but a lot of them don't want it because it makes them feel more uniform when they're not.
What do you mean by uniform?
Like your cookie cutter almost. You're taking one cookie cutter and you're taking it to all the cookie dough and just stamping it. Mm-hmm. It makes you just feel as if it's not for you.
You're less human?
Yeah, not really less human. Well, actually, yeah. More of that because of how if every human was the exact same, then you wouldn't truly be a human. You would just be clones.
Yeah. Yeah, and if we do this, I doubt it, though. It 100% be, like, if you would want it. We can't force something on humans. That's wrong.
Mm-hmm. We're not AI.
The downside of doing this is that anything that holds a software can be hacked.
So it would have to be firewall upon firewalls.
Even then, there's always a back door. There's a back door to everything.
Which I feel like kind of brings me back to the separate network.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't build a separate network for every single person.
Yeah.
It would be planets. You would have to take up planets worth of just machinery. You'd have to hollow out the earth essentially just to get all the materials to make a separate network for everybody.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
Probably.
Possible. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got anything else to add for us today?
No.
All right. Well, with that, I know we kind of rambled a little bit, but I would say we are very set, or we kind of agree a little bit on it's not very smart to make a super AI, maybe the servant AI,
Yeah.
but AI in general is probably something that we don't want to get into right now and is really just a good use of science fiction to give a good laugh at everything, or maybe even suspense. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, with that being said, that does conclude our first episode of Living with Technology, presented to you by the EC3 Media Arts Program and the EC3 Network interns. We hope you all enjoyed, and if you're watching on YouTube, we're sorry that it's a little dull, and we will try our best to make it a little bit better. We will see you all next time, and hopefully with a new topic. And with that, I would have to say, have a nice week.